Hey everybody, Ryan here at eTrailer. Today on our 2019 Ford Flex, we're going to be showing you how to install the CURT Class 3 trailer hitch receiver. But before we do that, let me check it out and make sure this is the right setup for you. So with the Flex being a full-size SUV, people use them to do a lot of different things, whether that be, using a cargo carrier or a bike rack to free up some space on the inside when you got the family with you, or even pulling a trailer around. And because of that, if it were me, I would want a hitch that could handle just about any task that I'm trying to get done. And with this setup here, it's going to allow us to do that. So as far as, the way the hitch is going to look on the back of the Flex, I don't think it's too bad by any means. Although it is, for the most part, completely visible, it is going to sit back a little bit and kind of be tucked up nice and tight against the bottom of our car. So, when you're standing up from the back looking at it, you really ain't going to see a whole lot of it. For the most part, just the receiver tube opening here. And that's going to kind of bring me to my next point, where the end of the receiver tube opening is going to sit. More or less, it's going to be about flush with our bumper. And that's going to make it really easy to work with and allow us to use a lot of different type of accessories, particularly ones that you can fold up. And I say that because it's going to give us that clearance that we need to fold them upright in that stored position and not really have to worry about them accessories hitting the back of our Ford. With this being a Class 3 hitch, it is going to have that 2-inch by 2-inch receiver tube opening. Really common size there. At the end, we're going to have a reinforced collar for a little bit of extra strength. And it is going to use that standard 5/8 pin. Now, pin and clip does not come included. If you need one, not a huge deal. You can grab it here at eTrailer. I am a big fan of these safety chain openings, actually. They sit a little bit further back out of the way, and they're very large. And those will allow us to use just about any size hook that we might have. As far as the hitch's weight capacities go, it's going to have a 400-pound maximum gross tongue weight rating. And that's going to be the amount of weight that is pushing down on the hitch. So relatively high number, and you should be able to use those, 1 to 4 bike racks, just to give you an example. As far as the maximum gross trailer weight rating goes, that's going to be 4,000 pounds. And that's going to be the amount of weight that is pulling on the hitch. So that is the weight of your trailer plus anything you might have on it. This hitch also can be used with the weight distribution system. That's a separate component, and what happens is whenever you use that, it's going to keep your Flex and your trailer nice and level whenever you're pulling it down the road. The weight ratings are going to remain the same at 400 and 4,000. With all that in mind, I always like to mention it's never a bad idea just to grab your Ford's owner's manual. That way you can make sure your Flex can pull that much weight safely. Now let's just go ahead and grab a couple of measurements. That way we can try to figure out which hitch mounted accessories will work best. If you go from the ground to the top inside edge of the receiver tube opening, that's going to be about 13.5 inches. So chances are pretty good. If you do plan on pulling a trailer, you're probably going to need to get a ball mount that has a rise in the shank. If you go from the center of the hitch pin hole here to the edge of our rear bumper, that looks like it's going to be about 3.5 inches. And you can use that measurement to figure out exactly if any of those folding accessories you might have can be stored upright without hitting the back of your Flex. So at the end of the day, this one's probably my favorite hitch available for the Flex. The other ones available, look similar to this, but I feel like CURT, as far as the quality construction goes, is just kind of a step higher than some of the others. So that's why I say that. But at the end of the day, I mean, it's one you really can't go wrong with. It's going to look all right and get the job done. Now, as far as the installation goes, really not too bad. You do have to lower the exhaust to give you the space you need to work. But once that's done, the hitch more or less just kind of bolts right up. So shouldn't give you a ton of issues. Speaking of which though, let's go ahead, pull into the garage and put it on together now. To begin our installation, we're going to be underneath the back of our Flex. And what we're going to need to do is lower our exhaust on some. That way we can have the room that we need to work. So in order to do that, what you're going to want to do first is take a strap. And we're just going to run this from side to side. That way we can kind of control how fast and how far we let the exhaust come down. So at the end of our tailpipe, we're going to have some rubber isolator hangers, and you need to get them removed so you can spray them down with soapy water, some lubricant, and just take a pry bar and work one of the ends off. Just like that. If you have a dual exhaust setup, you're gonna have to do that to the other side as well, which in our case, we do indeed have a dual exhaust setup. And then if we follow the exhaust kind of towards the front of our vehicle, we're gonna have another isolator hanger right here as well. So do that same deal to get this one removed. Once we're done with that, we can loosen up our strap a little bit and get the exhaust to come down. Now we can actually remove our metal exhaust hanger here. So there's going to be 2 bolts. Use an 18mm socket to do this. And I want to mention from this point on, anything we do to one side of the vehicle, we're also going to do to the other side because it'll be set up the same way. Now at the next set of hands, we can take our hitch and raise it into position. And the way this is going to work, the holes in the hitch are going to line up with those weld nuts. You're going to take your exhaust hanger bracket that we removed and your new hardware, which is a bolt mechanical tooth washer. Make sure the teeth on the washer are going to face up towards the hitch. This is kind of tricky, I'm not going to lie, to get everything lined up here, but we'll get it. And what you're going to do is get that hardware, at least one on each side, hand tight. That way the hitch will support itself. I just want to mention something. In the past, I've kind of experienced that with these, and every vehicle is going to be a little bit different. Every hitch is going to be a little bit different, but sometimes when you go to put this up, you know, you can get one side started and then the other side, the holes aren't going to want to quite line up perfectly. A lot of times they'll fall short. And so what you can do is take like a pry bar like this and maybe have a friend, you know, kind of help, you know, find something to pry against and put some pressure on it, and that'll kind of help squeeze that hitch over and line it up a little bit better. So just kind of a tip I wanted to throw out there. But with that said, once we have all the hardware in place and hand tight, then we can come back and snug it all down. To tighten these down, we'll come back with a 19mm socket and snug everything up. Once everything is tight, you want to make sure to come back with a torque wrench and tighten down all of the hardware to the amount specified in the instructions. If you don't have a torque wrench, you can always grab one here at eTrailer, or a lot of times if you go to your local auto parts stores, we'll have one there available to rent. Now we can raise our exhaust back up the opposite way. I do want to mention, if the hanger was originally on this part, you know, it was just sitting on this part, maybe better to pop it off and put it up on this one because it's a little tight there. I feel like it might just make things easier. But with that said, we'll go ahead and just raise our exhaust back into position. And we'll get the one here in the middle as well. And once it's supporting itself, at this point, we'll go ahead and remove the strap. And that'll finish up our look at and our installation of the CURT Class 3 trailer hitch receiver.